Alright guys, well we are less than 2 days removed from this controversy, as Kotaku would try to lead you to believe, involving the CEO of Saber Interactive, the studio that made Space Marine 2, given the fact that he allegedly made some comments on a YouTube video of Asmongold's where he, denounced essentially wokeness in modern politics and video games, not his exact words. And then, of course, on LinkedIn, when asked about it, he's like, well, that sounds like a sharp guy, So again, basically admitting that even if he isn't the one who made the statement, that yes, he 100% agrees with the message. So, of course, Kotaku doesn't like this very much, and they're spurging out right now, writing this article, which is essentially a hit piece going after the reactionary, anti-woke YouTubers and everything else. But regardless, this game, Space Marine 2, is kicking ass. It's doing fantastic. 65,000 people on Steam alone currently playing this game. And they even admit in this article here that the game is good, but they don't believe it's good for the reasons that most of us believe it's good. They don't believe it has anything to do with the lack of modern politics, woke ideology, or any other crap in the game. They believe that it's simply doing well because the game is good. And hey, there's something to be said for that. A good game, regardless of the politics and the storyline of the game, is still going to be a fantastic game. Look, Baldur's Gate 3, prime example, had a lot of wokeness crammed into it, and it was still a game that I never played it, so I'm going to take the word of a lot of other people that I know, was still a fantastic game. So that being said, they put out this article basically denouncing everybody in, Gamergate 2, as they've labeled it, and essentially saying that, we're all the problem with gaming once again. So it's ironic that they are still banging this drum, when just a few months ago we saw all these outlets defending Concord tooth and nail as hard as they could, a game that is the polar opposite of Space Marine 2, a game that doesn't have the likable characters, a game that doesn't have good character design, a game that doesn't have much of a market for it, given the fact that there's already an oversaturated field of these shooters, of these types of games, and this one had a $40 price tag attached to it. And despite this, outlets like The Gamer said things like Concord's price gives me a flutter of hope. Game Rants gave a Concord review, gave a very favorable review of this game. Of course, Gaming Nexus wanted to say that it's not the absolute dumpster fire the internet would have you believe. And of course, that can be countered by the fact that the game got pulled offline after just 2 weeks. But now we even saw like a week ago that apparently Concord merchandise was in the best sellers. Apparently some people who are like either looking for heirlooms or collectibles or something in the future bought this because of the fact that it was kind of a meme, right? So people are, just like they bought physical discs of the game and were reselling them on eBay for 5 times the value, now they're trying to essentially buy the merch for the game because it's immortalized at this point. The game is no longer available. Nobody can play it, as is indicated by the fact that over the last few days, the numbers for this game dropped from 1 to 2 to 1 to 0. It's back up to 2 right now. I assume these are just people who are at the studio trying to work on whatever they can try to do to salvage this game. But it doesn't look promising given the fact that now we are seeing that the director of Concord over at Firewalk Studios has stepped down as the studio behind historic PlayStation flop awaits Sony's decision as to their fate. And the funniest part about this, not for Ryan Ellis specifically, I don't know anything about him personally. I don't know that he's a bad guy or doing anything wrong. He had a lot of experience at this studio. Before that, he was the director, or the game director at Probably Monsters, the studio that owned Firewalk from 2018 to, it says present. So I guess he still works at Probably Monsters, even though they sold it to Sony. They sold Firewalk to Sony, that is. He spent 7 years at Bungie. So this man has a lot of experience. I would argue his experience should have gotten them to deviate from the path that they were headed down with this game, because this is a game that had flop written all over it. Even if you don't even pay attention to the woke or the anti-woke reactionaries, as they call them, everybody could see from a mile away that this game was not going to do well for one reason or another. And now he has stepped away from the studio. So that presents a lot of questions about what is going to happen to this game in the future. So this article here says it's been 2 weeks since Sony announced it was taking the unprecedented step of unreleasing Concord, and almost as long since the ill-fated sci-fi hero shooter was officially taken offline. In the time since, Kotaku understands that developers at Firewalk Studios have been in limbo about their future as they await Sony's decision about what comes next for Concord and the team. Well, a lot of people were speculating that they were going to try to make the game free to play, that they were going to bring it back, Despite the fact that they wanted to make the game to not have a battle pass, to not have microtransactions, which again, I think is an honorable, decent intent. I think that's a very nice thing to say, hey, we want to make a complete game like a Halo going way back, where everything is in the game and you can, unlock all of it over time. But the reality is they could not possibly do that with the current market that this entire game, like, it's situated in the middle of. And making it free to play, I don't know how they're going to do that. They would just revamp the game from the ground up and say, okay, now it's free. And now here's all these hideous skins that we already, showed you guys in the game that you could unlock. Now you have to pay microtransactions to unlock these skins. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think it's even possible. It says, whatever ends up happening, game director Ryan Ellis will not be at the helm. Formerly at Bungie, where he served as creative director on Destiny 2, Ellis left in 2017 to lead development of what would eventually become Concord. He told staff at Firewalk last week that he would be stepping down from his game director role and moving into a support role instead, according to 3 sources familiar with the change. Sony did not immediately respond for a comment, and they probably won't. They will not likely respond to any of this until they know what the hell they're doing with this game. Ellis was the main shot caller on Concord, which, despite praise for its underlying shooter gameplay feel, failed to attract an audience, with analyst Simon Carlos estimating to IGN that the $40 play per PvP-only game had sold only around 25,000 copies, abysmal numbers given not just its budget but the PlayStation First brand it represented. Again, I don't think they sold 25,000 copies, if we're being honest. If you combine the peak of less than 700 people that they had on Steam when they launched, as well as the fact that there was only 1,200 some odd people that unlocked their first kill achievement on the PlayStation profile page, there's no way they sold 25,000 copies of this game. It says, Ryan deeply believed in the project and bringing players together through the joy in it, said one former developer who said he felt Ellis had poured a great deal of himself into the game, leading to a ton of stress. Regardless of there being things that could have been done differently throughout development, he's a good human and full of heart. And I don't think anybody's arguing that he's not. But the issue is whether or not he intended to make this game full of these hideous woke characters, if the idea to make the whole inclusive pronoun crap part of the game from the get-go had anything to do with Ryan Ellis or the people working for him. There were a bunch of people that we have seen covered time and time again from Smash JT and That Park Place, people who were completely mentally deranged lunatics, calling themselves professor as like their preferred pronoun and shit. And this is the situation that was at Firewalk. So again, you can feel sorry for the guy, you can feel sorry for the good people who probably work there, and I'm sure there are plenty of them. I assume most of them will get absorbed into Sony in some capacity or the other, so I'm sure anybody with actual talent and skill is going to find a job at Sony and in some studio that they get absorbed by. But in the meantime, it's like, guys, this game was just not going to work. It was not going to be good. Nobody should be lamenting it. It should be a cautionary tale to developers moving forward. That being said, let me know what you think about all this down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Alright, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.